Next in our Beginning WordPress series, we're going to look at creating posts. Creating a new post in WordPress is pretty straightforward. If you're already in your site and logged in, you'll be able to see this grey bar at the top, in which case you can just go to Add New Post, and that'll take you straight to the interface you need to create the post. If, however, you're in the dashboard or elsewhere in the admin interface, you've got a couple of options. Up here you have a New Post button, which if you hover over it also gives you options for new page and to go elsewhere in the site, and you can just click on that to create the new post. Or you can go to the Posts section, which will open up a list of all existing posts, both draft and published, and gives you some information about them in case you need to edit them. From here you can either click Add New in the left hand column, or you can click the Add New button by the post's header. This creates the Add New Post form. The first field you can see where it says Enter Title here is the title field. I'm sure you'll be amazed to know. So if we just type in Test Post as the title, if we then click into the next field down, which is the Content field, you'll see that it creates the permalink automatically. Now the permalink is the permanent link to this particular post, and it can be either a number or it might create a name out of the title of the post, and you can change that and make it something that's a bit more friendly to you if you wish. Now in the content area you have the visual tab, which should mostly be the one that's open. You also have an HTML tab. If you do know HTML, this gives you a chance to actually use some code if you want, but if you don't, or you're not comfortable learning it, then you can just ignore this and just stick with the visual, unless you have code from somewhere else to paste in, such as a YouTube video that's provided you with some HTML, in which case you just go into the HTML tab and just paste it in place. So from the visual tab you just type the same way you would in a word processor. You also have these buttons along here for formatting. So here you've got bold, italic, strikeout if you want to indicate that something's been deleted, two types of list, bulleted and numbered. This style is for something called block quote. So if you've got a lengthy quotation, that will generally indent it or otherwise produce formatting that indicates it's a quote. Alignment and some other bits and pieces. So if we wanted to emphasize the fact that it's a fox, we can just hit bold. If we want to emphasize the fact that it jumps, we can make it italic by either clicking the button or just using the usual shortcut that you would use in Word on your computer. On a Mac, that's Apple I, to create that formatting. So it's very user friendly. If you want to link something, you use this button here to create a link. So we just click on that, and either you can type in the address directly, or under this link to existing content, it will actually show you the content that you already have in the site. So you can just click a page and it'll automatically include that. The title field here is a description of where this link takes you, and you should always fill that in. You won't be able to see it, but it does help your users. Once you're happy with your link, you just click Add Link and it's all in place. If at a later stage you decide you don't want that link, just click anywhere inside it and you'll see this button here says Unlink, and that will remove the link. This button on the end is for something called the kitchen sink, which is actually more formatting options, which can be useful. The most important thing here is this drop down here, which generally starts out just saying paragraph, but in particular it lets you apply heading styles to your text, which is great for subheadings because it helps with search engine optimization. It helps Google understand which are the important parts of your page. Once you've got your content in place, you've then got a number of options down the right hand side which change according to the theme that you have. Generally you'll have categories. What I've got set up here is blog and news. These are very common, and you can use these to send this particular post to a particular part of the site. So you might have, say, news items on your home page, but then a blog that just has blog posts. So if you mark it as news, it will only appear on the home page and not in the blog list. So we'll mark this one as news. Tagging is for indicating the content, so we can just make this fox, dog, jumping. You don't have to include these, but sometimes they're helpful. If you want to categorize things by the subject matter, tags can be very useful for that. Up here you have the publishing options. First up, you get a chance to preview your post and see what it looks like within the template. Make sure you're happy with it. You can save a draft if you're writing something and you just want to keep it for next time and come back to it later. You can edit the status directly in a drop down here to be draft or pending review, which is generally used if you've got authors and editors and you've got multiple people editing the site and you don't necessarily want the people who are writing the content to be approving the content. You can specify posts as being public, password protected or private. And you've got this setting here which says publish immediately, which is the default, which basically says if I click this publish button, it's going to go live. However, not all content, when you've finished it, you don't necessarily want it to go live immediately. You might want to wait until 9 AM in 2 days' time when something's announced, but you want the content to be ready beforehand, in which case you can actually specify a particular date. And so you just change the date there and click OK, and it'll schedule that to go live at that time. The only thing to be aware of here is that WordPress sometimes doesn't exactly understand daylight saving time. So it's worth testing it out, particularly when you've just changed to or from daylight savings time, to make sure that it is actually publishing at the correct time. And when you're ready with that, you just click publish. Once the post's published, you'll see this little message here saying post published, view post, in which case you can just click on the link to view your post. And here you can see our formatting. Here's the bold and the italics. There's our link, and when we click that, that takes us to the about page that we linked before.